Kurt Russell once made a priceless mistake during the filming of a movie. We'll tell you all about it on a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True. Welcome to The Internet Says It's True, where every week I tell you about something that sounds like I just made it up out of thin air, but it's really true. This is part of the WCBE podcast experience. It's available on all podcast platforms, also available on the NPR app and website. My name's Michael Kent. That's me, and this is episode 220. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for tuning in every week. Got a few new Tizitors to thank. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Luna. Both of you have joined the Patreon, and we appreciate that. If you want to join the Patreon, you can have discussions about the episodes, see the videos of the guest interviews, get ad-free early episodes, all that stuff. Go to patreon.com/Michael Kent. That is how you support this project. Also, make sure that you are going to the Purple Podcast app. That's the Apple Podcasts app, and reviewing it. Give us a 5-star review along with a few words. Really appreciate that. Doesn't cost you anything but a couple minutes. And hey, if you've got a podcast, I'll return the favor. I promise. Anyway, that's pretty much all the announcements. Hope everyone's having a great new year so far. We're only a few days into it. Hasn't been too much opportunity to mess things up too bad yet. I'm spending 2025 protecting my mental health. I think that's the biggest thing. I mentioned it last week, but I'm going to treat myself with some loving kindness. I hope that you do too. And most importantly, try to learn how to recognize when you need to, amp up the self-love. So anyway, let's get into it. We're talking about fake stories and real items. We all know that there are entire art departments and prop departments that are responsible for finding and sometimes making the props that we see in films. But when I was researching this week's episode, I became really curious about things used as props in films that are real, like things that have real significance, value, or history outside of the context of the film that were used in the movie. And one of these is something we already did a story on. If you find the episode called Stuart Little and the Hungarian Masterpiece, we tell the story of how a painting used as set decoration was recognized as this rare and valuable painting that had been lost to history, and no one on the set knew about its value or history. And so I got thinking, what other valuable and real items were used in films or television? Maybe there's just stuff sitting in the background that we didn't even know about. And there's a story about Battlestar Galactica, the 2003 version of the show, where Commander Adama destroys an antique wooden model of a ship, and the character, which is played by Edward James Olmos, is angry in the episode of the show called Maelstrom, and there's apparently a ship he's been building, and in anger, he smashes this model ship. Well, the story goes that the ship was actually a real model borrowed from a museum, an actual wooden antique valued at $100,000. Now, this story has gone around Hollywood for a decade, but one prop master for the show claims that it's just a fake story, and the ship was a prop that was bought from a mail order company and cost a couple $100. Occasionally, real items do sneak their way onto sets as an homage. For instance, in The Princess Bride, Rob Reiner really wanted Mark Knopfler to do the music for the movie, and he only agreed to do it if Reiner would somehow insert one of his favorite pieces of movie memorabilia into the film. He loved the film Spinal Tap and wanted the iconic hat that Reiner wears in the film to be in Princess Bride. He said, if you do that, I'll do the music. So if you look at the scenes in the young boy's bedroom, these are the scenes with Fred Savage and Peter Falk, the naval-style Ural C ball cap is hanging up behind the bed, and you can see that in the movie. Along the same line, the film Gone with the Wind features props from another classic film, but you'd never know it. So there's the scene where Atlanta is burning. The actual things that are burning are backgrounds that were used in the filming of the 1933 King Kong 6 years earlier. Today's story, however, is all about a guitar. It's a guitar that was featured in the film Hateful Eight. We'll talk all about it after a quick break.
We're living through the most dynamic time in human history, and what we do as leaders matter. We are the ones that create the leverage to shift directions of our companies, our nonprofits, and our communities. As a leader or an emerging leader, please join me for a dynamic conversation with top thought leaders, academics, and executives to learn more about how to elevate your leadership. I'm Maureen Metcalf. Join us at the WCBE podcast experience at wcbe.org.
If you love listening to this podcast every week and you want to show your support, that would mean a great deal to me. You can do that by becoming a Patreon member. We've got members at all levels, whether you want to pledge $1 a month or $10 a month. Just think about the value that you receive from this show. And if you like the histories and the stories that you learn about or the jokes that you hear, and if you think that they're worth it, consider signing up. For that, you get every episode ad-free and a week early, access to bonuses like the unedited videos of the guest appearances, and 20% off all merchandise. You can sign up today at patreon.com/Michael Kent. That's patreon.com/Michael Kent.
Hey, I'm Cliff Baumgardner.
And I'm Harrison Stewart.
If you're like us, you probably grew up watching the Discovery Channel classic, Mythbusters.
From rocket cars to chicken cannons, Mythbusters proved there's no question too big, too small, or too ridiculous to put to the test.
Now we're going back to rewatch the show from episode 1, and we want you to follow along. Join us as we revisit every single myth, moment, experiment, and explosion from throughout the show's legendary 14 seasons. Subscribe now so you don't miss one.
There was a time that humans used 100% organic products as healing balms and moisturizers for their skin. Well, I've partnered with an awesome company that wants to get back to those times. Fatco sells organic and responsibly made tallow-based skincare products. For centuries, humans used tallow in skin moisturizers and healing balms, but unfortunately, the topical application of these fats seemed to stop around the same time that animal fats stopped being considered part of a healthy diet. A lot of modern skincare products do more harm than good by stripping your skin of its natural oils. Let's change that. You can try them out now at fatco.com and get 15% off your order by using my promo code INTERNET. Go to theinternetsayitstrue.com/deals for the link.
I'm John DeSando, host of Back Talk. This podcast is an extension of the long-running, award-winning movie review show, It's Movie Time. Back Talk features additional content and banter with guests about new movies. If you want more insight and information about what's playing now in theaters and online, find Back Talk at the WCBE Podcast Experience on WCBE.org. You'll be happy you did.
I gave my love a story that had no end.
That was audio from 1978's National Lampoon's Animal House. Bluto, played by John Belushi, takes this guitar from the guy and smashes it against the wall and hands it back to him. Iconic scene. The guy playing the guitar was a friend of John Landis, the director, and was an actual professional musician, Stephen Bishop. Not many people realize this. And while he knew it was coming, he was still surprised when they shot the scene, which wasn't in the original script. And they shot the scene twice, and Belushi signed the pieces of the broken guitar, and some of those small pieces were given to cast members, but Stephen Bishop, whose character was simply called, quote, charming guy with a guitar. Side note, Bishop shows up in at least 4 other John Landis movies and is always named some generic form of charming so-and-so. Anyway, Stephen Bishop still has most of this broken guitar as a souvenir. When Belushi smashed it and the audiences saw it in theaters, they actually cheered. This was the late 70s, and they were sort of rejecting the sappy love songs of their parents. But in this instance, the guitar was meant to be smashed. It was part of the scene, and the prop master specifically procured it, possibly 2 of them, since they shot it twice, for this particular scene. In today's story, however, we're talking about a different type of guitar. First, let's listen to the scene that we're going to talk about.
When I get to Mexico,
give me that guitar. Music time's over.
What you just heard was from the film Hateful Eight, directed by Quentin Tarantino and released in 2015. It's about a bounty hunter and his prisoner in their journey through a Wyoming winter. They end up in this cabin, and in the scene we're talking about, Daisy, who's played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, is playing the song Jim Jones at Botany Bay, which is an Australian folk song. She's sitting, playing this guitar, and Kurt Russell yells, "Music time is over," grabs the guitar from her hands and smashes it against one of the wooden beams of the cabin. Jennifer Jason Leigh's face shows a look of shock and horror, and she wasn't acting because Kurt Russell had just made a huge mistake. And if you watch this clip, you can actually see her looking off toward the crew members because she knew what happened. The props department for the film had arranged for 6 different copies of this guitar, and it was one of those copies that was supposed to be smashed. So the camera was supposed to show Daisy playing the guitar, then there would be a cut, and they'd swap in one of the 6 duplicate guitars, and that was the one that was supposed to be smashed by Kurt Russell. But let's talk about the real guitar. To be authentic to the period film set in 1877, they located an incredibly rare guitar. It was a priceless, one-of-a-kind, 145-year-old Martin guitar on loan from the Martin Guitar Museum. Jennifer Jason Leigh had been so fortunate throughout the shooting of the movie to have taken it home on several occasions to rehearse with it, and she'd fallen in love with the warm tones of this 1860s Martin parlor guitar, and even asked about the price tag because she wanted to buy it after the film wrapped. They had told her it was a $4,000 guitar. Well, the real price tag was probably closer to $40,000, if not just absolutely priceless. It was that guitar that she was playing in the scene, and whether or not the error was Russell's or Tarantino's, one or maybe both of them didn't know that it wasn't one of the fake guitars that she was holding, because Russell had been told to keep going until he hears cut, so he smashed the guitar, the real guitar, and that's why we get such a real reaction from Jennifer Jason Leigh yelling, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," as an authentic, genuine reaction. The guitar was often referred to as priceless because it's one of the oldest playable Martin guitars in existence. They told Kurt Russell that he had just smashed a $15,000 guitar. Later on, it was explained that the guitar was worth $25,000. Then, by the time the story was told a few weeks later, it was being called a $40,000 guitar. Kurt Russell obviously felt awful, and still feels awful to this day. His eyes welled up with tears immediately. When they relayed the news to the Martin Guitar Museum, they had just mentioned that there had been an accident, and Martin Guitars played it cool to the cast and crew. Martin even offered to send another guitar. But what they didn't know was how deliberately and violently this priceless museum piece had been demolished, and they never knew that until they actually saw the movie. They did ask for the broken pieces back so they could display them in the museum. Dick Boak, who runs the Martin Museum, said, quote, "We assume that a scaffolding or something fell on it. We understand that things happen, but at the same time, we can't take this lightly. All this about the guitar being smashed, being written into the script, and that somebody just didn't tell the actor, this is all new information to us. We didn't know anything about the script or Kurt Russell not being told that it was a priceless, irreplaceable artifact from the Martin Museum. As a result of the incident, the company will no longer loan guitars to movies under any circumstances," end quote. So what you're seeing in the film is the actual take, the actual destruction of this priceless museum guitar. If you visit the Martin Guitar Museum in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, you can see a lot of famous guitars. The acoustic that Kurt Cobain played on Nirvana's legendary MTV Unplugged performance, a guitar owned and played by Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, and multiple other famous musicians. And then you can see, resting in a guitar case, a smashed up acoustic guitar that used to be valuable for being an 1860s early model, but now known for a completely different reason. A film relic with an incredible, if not tragic, story. As for Jennifer Jason Leigh, she wasn't responsible, but she felt responsible. She had really connected with this particular instrument and loved it. So as a wrap gift, Tarantino wanted her to have something special to take her mind off the mishap. It wasn't a 145-year-old Martin, but it was close. She opened her gift from the director to find a rare 1880s Martin guitar, still very valuable, and this time all hers to keep and protect. The internet says it's true. It is time for Yap Yap with me and a friend today. I'm calling a new friend, Brandon Koss. Brandon is a comedian, a writer, and self-proclaimed cat dad. He created and he hosts the monthly stand-up and sketch variety show called Carby, live in person at the LIP. Is it LIP or LIP?
You can say both.
Okay.
LIP.
It's the Lip Theater, and it's also streaming on Twitch. His debut comedy album, Good Boy Artie, is available to stream or buy on all platforms. You're in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I am.
I have spent a great deal of time in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for whatever reason. Well, the reason is I've got a couple really good friends there. But outside of that, the college booking market always used to do an annual conference at the Lancaster Host, which is arguably the worst hotel in America, and that's why it doesn't happen there anymore. But this regular Carby show is in Lancaster, right?
Yeah.
Tell
it's
me
right
about it.
downtown. It's a half stand-up, half sketch variety show,
Okay.
and it happens the second Saturday of every month here in Lancaster, and we also stream it on Twitch. And I'm always in the chat, so if anyone wants to watch and interact with me, I will write back to you or call you out.
How do you do that from the stage?
So I just host it. So I'll open with stand-up, and then I have a team who writes all the sketches and performs, and then we have a booked headliner at the end.
Oh, I see. Have you ever heard of a store called Larkstone in Lancaster?
Yeah, they're great.
That's
Yeah.
So the owners of Larkstone, good friends of mine. I've known Evan for decades, and so I remember when he bought the building and started into that whole world. But he is a performer like us, so he does like street performing in the. Occasionally still does it. He does street performing in the Inner Harbor in Baltimore and stuff like that. But that's how I know. That's, and my other buddy Jonathan Burns, who's a regular on this show, is also there in Lancaster, and is also a comedian. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, man. Well, hopefully we'll get some folks watching Carby on Twitch after this episode. They can catch the next one. Are there back episodes anywhere that people can go and watch?
Right now, there's not. So we have it on Twitch available for 14 days, and then it just gets archived, mostly because of the stand-up guest. I don't want to have their sets out there in case they don't want, like, if they're doing something with it, I don't want to have it available.
That's thoughtful. Yeah, that makes sense. So I do a new segment on the show, and I say new, but I've been doing it for a year now, where I ask guests to give me a fact that they think that maybe I haven't heard about. And this is fun for me because this show, after doing 219 episodes, this is episode 220, I know so much dumb stuff that I should never know. So do you have a true fact that you think there's little chance I've heard before?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Wisconsin. So if you're familiar with the cheese head that they wear at the Packer games,
Yes.
that actually started at Brewer games, and it was just a guy started showing up there with a couch cushion on his head that he had burned holes in and then painted yellow.
Oh, I
And
love
now
that.
it's a thing.
I love that so much. And now I am hoping that guy makes some money from that. This is now an industry. Do we know?
That I actually don't know. I would hope so too.
We did an episode of this show about the guy who invented the karaoke machine. He never patented it or anything. He gets no money decades later from having invented this phenomenon. But yeah, I hope that guy's getting a little bit. We went to a Ohio State game up there in Madison one year and stopped at a roadside stop that had those hats, ties, anything you could think of, made of foam that look like cheese. And it is a phenomenon. It's a big deal up there. No, I didn't know that. So that's a win for you. So we're off to a good start before we even start the topic. Let's get into the topic. For this question, we're going to play for a joke, Brandon. So if you get it wrong, you got to tell me a joke. If you get it right, I will tell you a joke. It doesn't have to be a good joke. It can be a street joke. I really don't care. Okay. In Quentin Tarantino's Hateful Eight, Kurt Russell smashes a guitar that was being played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. For which one of these reasons was this notable? A, it was a one-of-a-kind priceless guitar on loan from a museum. B, the entire guitar was CG because they couldn't find a period-accurate one. Or C, they found a rare Civil War-era photo on the inside of the broken pieces of the guitar.
These all seem plausible.
Yes.
So I have to go with what I would hope is the answer, which is C.
C, the Civil War photo. That would be amazing. The answer is A. It was a one-of-a-kind priceless guitar on loan from a museum. So get this, Martin, the guitar company, had this guitar, and the movie's set in 1877, so they're like, we need a period-accurate guitar. So they found this 1860s Martin, one of the oldest playable Martin guitars in existence, and so they took it out of a museum, and it was on loan from Martin. They had 6 duplicates made for Kurt Russell to smash, And whether it was Kurt Russell's mistake or Tarantino's mistake, Tarantino never yelled cut, which is where they would have swapped in the dummy guitar. And Kurt Russell smashes the thing in this cabin against the wall. And you can see Jennifer Jason Leigh knows she had become close to this guitar, and she knows it's the real guitar. And so if you look in the movie, in this scene, she looks off screen to the crew like, whoa, what's happening? This isn't okay. And she yells, whoa, whoa, whoa. Not in the script. She just yells that. And they left all that in. And so it's a really accurate, like, I love when real stuff happens in movies and they just leave it in, So this is one of those things.
That's incredible.
It is a crazy story. I'm glad you got it wrong because I want to hear a joke.
Okay. I will tell you, not a great joke, but you did preface by saying that's okay.
Yes.
But it is about a guitar. So I've always wished that I could tune a guitar by ear, but unfortunately I have to use my hands.
I did tell you it could be awful. I found one, and I normally, I don't have to share one, but I found this one, and it's a guitar joke. A woman is accused of beating her. First of all, did you have a guitar joke prepared? Or is that just in your head?
It's just in my head.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you had prepared that and it was just a weird coincidence because you don't know the topic before you come off here. Okay. A woman is accused of beating her husband half to death with his guitar collection. The judge looks down at her and asks, first offender? The woman replies, nope, first a Martin, then a Gibson, then a Fender. Awful joke. All right, man. So Good Boy Artie is your current full-length comedy show that's available for people to watch. Where was this filmed? Where did you tape it?
It was actually here at the Lip Theater.
Oh, cool.
Part of it is I'm trying to build more of a comedy community here in the theater. And I kind of thought, hey, I can make that happen possibly. So I just booked two headlining shows, got some friends to open for me, and we just recorded it here. And I'm really proud of it.
Being that it's a familiar theater to you because of Carby, did you find that a lot of the folks that came to your tapings were people who were already familiar with your stuff?
Yeah, and that's what I really like about it, because when you listen to it, I can pick out specific people's laughs.
Oh, that's fun.
Because they've been to so many different Carby shows that I know, oh, this person like that and this person like that.
But they hadn't heard these jokes.
Some of them they have heard.
Oh, cool.
Which is great, yeah.
I always worry about that, that if I do a show if I'm getting video for social media for whatever, I want the A material is what I want to be performing. I want to perform it in front of a friendly audience, but the friendly audience has usually already seen the A material. And so you have that, like, maybe I need to have people who are experiencing this joke for the first time reacting, but also people are nice and they still like jokes even after they've heard them. So let's listen to a clip from that show, Good Boy Artie, right now.
Yeah, I'm having a pretty decent week. I did have to bring my dog to the vet, though. He had a rash on his area. Yeah, I hope you guys know what I mean when I do this. Because the receptionist at the vet's office did not. And to explain it in a different way, I was like, okay, I have the dog, and he has a hot banana. That she understood. A hot banana's not a thing, you guys. I've never been at a friend's house, and they were like, hey, do you want a banana? And I said, yes, but only if you warm it up for me. So we took the dog into the room. The doctor came in and said, hey, need to look at the area. I want you to hold him like a person, which I can do because I am a person. All that means is you take him under his arms so his legs hang down, like when Michael Jackson dangled that baby off the balcony. He did it. The doctor looked at the area, and I don't know how to explain this other than by saying his lipstick had gone goth. But the doctor said it's not a problem. We'll give you a spray twice a day, spray it on the area. In a week, he'll be fine. And my wife and I had been wondering whether or not we want to have children. But I think now that twice a day one of us baby dangles them while the other one spritzes his goth lipstick, we're just going to stick with the dog.
Once again, that was from Good Boy Artie, which is Brandon Koss's full-length comedy show that you can actually watch right now. We'll put a link in the show notes of that. Let's get on to our next question. This is question 2. For this question, we're going to play for a 145-year-old Martin guitar as soon as one becomes available to the public and sold at a reasonable price. Reasonable price is defined by me, I will say. Which one of these is the oldest known guitar in existence? Is it A, a Chinese guitar dating to around 800 CE, B, a South American vihuela dating to 1590, or C, a first model Fender from 1780? This is a hard question. I made these all too hard this week, but okay, so we're Chinese guitar 800 CE, South American vihuela dating to 1590, or a first model Fender 1780.
I'm going to go with B.
The answer, believe it or not, is B, a South American vihuela. I think the name vihuela is what gave that one away, because I would have never come up with that. This particular vihuela, which is just a predecessor of modern guitars, was created by Melchior Diaz. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. It's widely considered the oldest guitar in the world. It dates back to 1590, has 10 strings, and instead of regular metal frets, its ligatures are tied like those found on a lute. No idea what lute ligatures look like.
I have a lute joke.
Oh, I want to hear the lute joke. Does it make sense in a podcast? Or
It can, okay. So lutes, we all agree, lutes are very cool.
Okay.
For the joke.
Strong premise. Okay, go for it. Sorry.
We all also agree that flutes are not cool.
Oh.
Hey, flutes, get the F out.
Oh, that's a fantastic joke. I needed to hit the wrong button on that. Okay. The winner button get the F. That's a really smart joke. But still, I'm going to challenge you on the first premise that lutes are cool. Don't know what one is, other than maybe in like a medieval drawing I've seen a picture of one.
Yeah.
Maybe like mandolin shaped. I really don't know. I really don't know much about it.
Lute players love that though.
Oh yeah, I bet when you played that lute convention, that one went over huge.
Oh yeah, they were all going crazy.
Question 3. We're going to play for a sticker. It's 3 inches, it's square, and it's sticky. And it says, the internet says it's true. And if you get this right, it will be yours, all of it in its sticky goodness. Here's your question. Which one of these was the selling price for the world's most expensive guitar? This was an actual selling price at an auction for the world's most expensive guitar. Was it a $2.8 million Fender, an $80,000 Martin, or a $980,000 Gibson?
I'm gonna go with B again.
B again, the $80,000 Martin?
Yes.
The answer, $2.8 million for a Fender.
Wow.
And I looked it up. I was like, why would this guitar be that expensive? And so it was a one-of-a-kind guitar. Sure, that has nothing to do with it. It's a Stratocaster Reach Out to Asia. It was sold during an auction to raise funds for casualties and victims of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. And it's a white Stratocaster. $20,000 it cost them to make, which seems huge. But it had decorations. Those decorations were signatures. Clapton, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Brian May, Jimmy Page, David Gilmour, Jeff Beck, Pete Townsend, Paul McCartney, Sting, and Bryan Adams. All of those people wrote their signatures on this guitar. I got to say, I was like Bryan Adams against all these other people, but he was the guy that sort of imagined the whole Reach Out to Asia thing. So it was his project. But I imagine he had a little bit of imposter syndrome, being along Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Clapton, Brian May, Jimmy Page, all these people. It's insane. $2.8 million. That was, I don't know where it is now. I didn't find that, but do you have any experience playing music at all? Are you a guitar guy?
No, I was in a ska band
What did
at
you do
one
in the
point.
ska band?
Played trumpet.
I love this.
So probably the not cool part of the
When you're
ska
a
band.
trumpet player, there are only a few outlets to rock and roll, right? Like ska, Chicago style, like,
That's true.
or I will say, I've really enjoyed the band Lawrence. Have you listened to the band Lawrence? They've got some brass going on. Really great
No.
band. Yeah. So maybe your career isn't done if you want to get back into.
Maybe, yeah. Once Chicago said no, I thought I was done.
Yeah. Right. No, you've got a whole other life of this. What was the ska band's name?
Oh boy, it was a pun, of course.
Of course, that's why I asked.
It was the Skamikazes.
Oh, that's actually really good. Because one of my favorite genres of ska is Japanese ska. I can't say I can name any other Japanese or any other genres of ska other than American and Japanese ska. But when I was in Japan, I went to like a little record store and they were playing Japanese ska, and I bought the album that they were playing because I liked it so much. So
Nice.
yeah, I don't even remember the name of the band, but half of their lyrics were in English, like really bad English, and that is what makes it pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty great. So for question 4, we're going to play for something unusual. Actually, let's go back to our stakes because we haven't talked about these at all. You got question 1 wrong, so we got the joke. Question 2, you got right. And so I owe you a 145-year-old guitar as soon as I can find one at a reasonable price. Question 3, no sticker for you. Question 4, we're going to play for doing the dishes, Brandon. So when we are done recording, immediately have to go and do your dishes. Do you live alone?
Okay. I'm married, so
You're
my wife
married.
is gonna love this.
Yeah. Do you have dishes to be done right now?
I'm sure there are. Yeah.
Perfect. Same, I think. I think there are dishes that I can go do because I just made some chicken wings before this. So here's your question. There's a line from Hateful Eight from the movie. Have you seen the movie Hateful Eight?
I have not. No.
Okay. So Tarantino's film has this line, and the line from this movie was used on the poster for Inglourious Bastards, another Tarantino flick. Which one of these lines from Hateful Eight was used on the poster for Inglourious Bastards? One of these is real. A, when justice calls, the answer is brutal. B, no mercy, no surrender, no apologies. C, a bastard's work is never done.
Oh, it has to be C.
It has to be C, and you are correct. It is C. A bastard's work is never done. In Hateful Eight, that line is spoken by Samuel L. Jackson's character. So pretty neat that he took a line from one movie, used it for a completely different movie with a completely different plot, but just the word bastard is your tie together there. So
yeah.
What shows do you have coming up, man?
I have a little bit of a slow January, but we have Carburetor is coming up this coming Saturday, actually.
Yeah.
The 14th, I'm doing a show at the Burning Bridge Tavern in Wrightsville, PA, which is a really cool venue. They're trying to get comedy to be more of a thing there. They usually have bands. And then I have a stand-up showcase here at the Lancaster Improv Theater that is the last Friday of the month. So I think that's the 25th.
Yeah, I don't know. Question for you.
Yes.
Lancaster, from my experience, huge Amish population. Do those folks come out to comedy shows?
Not so far.
Oh, man.
But I would not turn them away.
No. I did a show for something similar. I think they were called like Russian Baptist or something like that, but they were very similar to Amish. I think I'm getting that right. Russian. Well, if you are listening and you know, send me a message. I'm curious what these were. And it was a grocery store run by like these Russian Baptist folks. And I was very scared because it's like, they're not going to understand my references. They're not going to know what I'm talking about. They, they generally don't, they are familiar with lutes and flutes. So this is good.
Okay.
But other than that, I was very concerned. And they loved it. They were the best audience ever. And they weren't, obviously, they didn't have their noses in their phones the whole show. They sat there and were engaged, and I want more audiences like that. So,
a fun fact about the Amish is that they love volleyball.
What?
Yeah, there was there was a place called Volleyball Corner here in Lancaster that was always full of Amish people.
This is
They
amazing.
love volleyball.
Wow. Do they wear their regular Amish clothes to play volleyball in?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, they probably don't have like volleyball clothes. I feel like that's all anyone ever sees them in is they have to wear their special. They're not. I feel like I'm talking down to them, but they don't listen to podcasts, so I think we're okay. I'm just imagining like volleyball people just sweating their butts off playing in full hats and long dresses and everything. So, all right, man.
Very polite court etiquette, I would say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They suck at volleyball, but they're really polite. Question 5 is for all the marbles. If you get it right, you're welcome back on the podcast anytime. If you get it wrong, you're banned for life. Currently, you're sitting at 500, 2 for 4. If you could choose one thing in your house right now that you could smash without worrying about the monetary loss, your wife getting upset, any of that stuff, what would it be?
Oh, this is actually tough because I feel like my wife would get upset if I broke anything in our house. But I do have a pretty extensive comic book collection, and I feel like if I threw any of those on the ground, she would be completely fine with it.
Okay. But you don't have anything that you would just want it just for the catharsis of just smashing something?
I do have my old work from home computer keyboard and mouse.
Oh, you won't use that again. I don't even think we need to worry about it. I think you could just do it when we're done here.
Yeah.
So next time, if your sports team loses, you get angry about something, there's your go-to. We had a we had a sledgehammer in my college house. I lived with, like 4 or 5 other guys, and we had this sledgehammer that someone along the way named Sweet Caroline. And when one of our items in the house would break, like a VCR, that's how old I am, a VCR or whatever, we would smash the crap out of it. And this sometimes happened in the living room of the house. So just pieces and parts flying everywhere. It was the coolest thing ever. This was also during the time of the movie Office Space, in which they smashed the fax machine or the printer or whatever. So it was along those lines. There was a hole in the floor from Sweet Caroline and a VCR. It was a lot of fun. I would do something similar. I would find one of my most like smashable pieces of tech, maybe like this TV or something along those lines. Like just smash the crap out of it. I've still got a DVD player. I can smash that. All right. Anyway,
you'd have to play some gangster rap while you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Back up in your ass with the resurrection. I need to watch that movie Office Space. It's been a while. Dude, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. If you want to learn about Brandon Koss, you can see some of the shows that he mentioned. Just go to brandonkoss.com. That's KOSS. And there's tour dates posted there. There's also links to some of the stuff that you can see his full-length show, Good Boy Artie. Thanks again for joining me, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking me.
And I will say, you did 3 for 4. You're welcome back on the pod, or 3 for 5. You're welcome back on the podcast anytime. And so that was wonderful. Thank you so much. That is all for this week. Thank you so much to Brandon Koss for being my guest, and thanks to you for listening. Here's the voice of a kid who's hateful at the age of 8.
Thank you for listening to The Internet Says It's True. To listen to episodes ad-free and a week early, support us on Patreon. You can do that at patreon.com/Michael Kent. If you learned something just now that you didn't already know, go to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review with 5 stars and a few words. That helps us a ton, because that's how the algorithm works. I don't know what an algorithm is, but just do it. See you next week for a brand new episode of The Internet Says It's True!
The Internet Says It's True would like to thank the Patreon subscribers whose monthly contributions help to make this show possible. Sean Brown, Joshua Endress, Dallas Ray, Bryce Swanson, Eugene Anderson, Jim and Joanne Martin, Mitch and Andrew Joseph Kemplin, and the show's official Emperor Kick Track. The show is written and produced by me, Michael Kent. The theme song is by Finite Music Forge, and all audio clips in this episode are used for education and commentary and used under Fair Use Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107. You can listen to past episodes by searching for The Internet Says It's True wherever you get your podcasts, and you can see bonus content at patreon.com/Michael Kent.